created free, created me. I was brought into this world to live authentically, living my life, and it's full of freedom. Nothing in this world that I can't overcome, 'cause I'm created free, created me. I stepped out into this world with my audacity. I'm living bold and I'm full of life, 'cause I am perfectly created free. I'm loving myself, loving myself, loving myself, loving
Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Created Free Podcast. I am your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. And you're here because the words created free sound good, but you're working on making it more of a reality in your life. So stick around as we discuss and challenge all that we know and feel about relationships, religion, business, spirituality, emotions, and so much more. Whatever life is throwing at us, okay? It's a topic of discussion. And then watch me show how this is impacting the way that you're showing up as an entrepreneur. So we're going to be challenging authenticity, and we're going to get to the root of who we really are and what we desire, and make sure we're doing everything that we can to manifest a life that we love. All right, so let's get into it. Oh my, how are we going to talk about freedom but then throw in the word obligation? Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't know if everybody else and other cultures feel the way that I feel. That sentence didn't sound that good. Let me start over again. No, I'm not going to bleep this and redo it. If anything, I'm teaching you guys the freedom of podcasting. In other cultures, I don't know if extraordinary spiritual leaders really feel the same level of obligation that people like myself feel. For instance, when you think about Catholic priests and stuff like that, do they really feel like they're here to, give back to their community and save humanity versus, just doing a task that's a job and, hey, just saving the world and whatever. Maybe that's why so many of them like to tickle little boys' booties. I don't know. But anywho, what I do know in the Black community in particular, especially with my ladies, we have this overwhelming need and desire to protect our people, help our people, serve our people. And I see how it impacts the way that we price our products, or we fumble on sales calls and blah, 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 blah. But let me stop, because I'm not about to get into business right now. I just want to really focus on this idea of being created free, but then feeling obligated to serve the community. And where does that come from? So anybody that that talks about the Matrix, almost all of them will pretty much tell you that if the white man created it, then it's pretty much backwards. It's fucked up, and it's not the way that things are really supposed to be. And I'm reading this book, and for those of you that want to know what it is, it's called Of Water and the Spirit. And it is by Malidoma Patrice Somé. And it is a powerful book. And honestly, for my book readers out there, I don't even need to say that I'm reading the book. I am soaking in the book. For people that are avid readers, we don't want to read fast. We want to read well. We want an experience, right? And so there's some things I read and I have to sit the book down and go journal or go think and have a moment, come back to it, read it again, go back to spots I underline and reread it, and so on and so forth. And so anywho, in this Western culture, there's this idea that you need to grow, use capitalistic society, create your business, become an influencer, do this, make a lot of money. And the more money you make and the more money you take and the more money you leave and the legacies you create, the more successful you are. And there are some of us that are in the entrepreneurial sphere, that we're, business owners, that aren't necessarily striving for that. And so we start clashing in our culture when we speak to other leaders, because they think that there's something wrong with us if We're not aspiring to do that as well. And you'll hear people say things like, well, if you poor, you broke, you can't help nobody. And, we got to make money in order for us to be able to help. And yeah. That's true. That's true to an extent. But there comes this point, right, where your desire, your need, your greed, etc., it ends up leaving people to fall through the cracks. So, anywho, ultimately, that's not what our goal was, not what I'm learning from the different books that I'm reading. Fuck the history books in school, reading books from my brothers and sisters that are talking about their experiences. And their experiences are not very far removed. These experiences aren't things that happen, 1,000 years ago. There are people that are still living and breathing, that are writing and sharing with the world what their experiences have been. And so one of the lines or paragraphs from this book really just pulled at my soul, and it's closer towards the beginning. And I wanted to share it with you because I know that it's going to speak some things. It's going to speak some things to your heart and spirit. You're going to have to digest this, journal some stuff. And look, I'm still thinking about some things, and I read this a minute ago. But look, as you see, I'm bringing it as a podcast episode because it hit my spirit again. But here's what it says. It was obvious that Father was not enthusiastic about being in charge of the elaborate collection of medicines, the magic tools that had made Grandfather unequaled in our tribe. In a traditional culture, power and regard are based upon medicine and upon its related spiritual training and growth. But the more you know, the more obligated you are to serve the community. The more you own, the more you must give. Consequently, it is easy to understand why people are reluctant to embrace spiritual secrets and their attendant responsibilities. By departing this life, Grandfather had passed his medicine on to Father. And if Father chose to assume that burden, he would have to change the entire pattern of his life. One does not jump enthusiastically into being big. Status can swallow every bit of your life energy. That right there, it hit something for me. You may even need to pause this and do a rewind and go back to that again. Because that's something I want you all to know that I have to deal with on a continuous basis. I do truly know and understand that sometimes when I've recorded podcast episodes, it hasn't happened that much with this one yet, but for those of you that were around with the one I had for 4 years called Real Women Don't Bitch, I was literally coaching and training on some of those podcast episodes, and I was not naive. I knew that I was doing it. Sometimes when I do Facebook Live videos, I give so many valuable jewels and nuggets. And instead of me withholding them and always saying a little something and trying to put a marketing message out there, I let it go out the way that it is. I could be a little bit more diverse in my marketing strategy. However, the way that I show up, I call to my Black women. And I definitely willingly accept the Black men who throughout the years have been willing to sit under my tutelage as well. But there's a certain drive in my spirit that ties into that essence. There's a sense of obligation in me that says that what I have is specifically for my people. And so for those of you that know about the situation with Deion Sanders, let me just say that, first of all, I don't know that much. I know some of the information, by you seeing stuff that's been shared on social media. I really didn't have necessarily a big interest in going to find out the latest scoop. But there are some people that I respect that are influencers that were talking about this, and it made me do a little bit of digging. And I know that our community is divided on this, but let me just say the premise for my arguments. That way, if you disagree, make sure that you correct me if my premise is wrong. Don't try to correct me if you don't like my opinion. Okay. But from my understanding, he went and worked at historically, Black colleges and universities, and he decided that he was going to take his athletic skills and help us He went to a school that was failing. They weren't winning. And not only did he turn that team around and they began to win, he got sponsorships, black dollars, other people like P. Diddy and stuff like that started funneling their money into the university. And on top of that, he kept saying, HBCUs, we got to, help our people. And after he had a certain amount of success, the white man does what he does best. He goes in and he says, hey, I want to offer you shit tons of money to leave those little poor black schools. And I want you to come to our white schools where we can afford everything in the goddamn world. And we want you to come and work for us. And so he left the HBCUs, and a lot of people in the community were up in arms because now he's going to help the white community as opposed to going to another HBCU and doing that. And people are like, oh, he's a businessman, and, so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. And came. And so here are the challenging questions, and not for everybody. If you don't agree with this at all, go on about your business. But when do we get to the point where we've reached the threshold about it being about business and being a businessman? Like, how much money does he have to get in order for him to be at peace? Oh, he got bills, he got this and such and such and such. Based on what I know, let me make sure I got this right. Now, I may be saying it wrong. Deion Sanders is the only athlete that was able to be in the NFL and play Major League Baseball and go to the championships for each sport. His ability was unparalleled. They knew what the fuck he was capable of and what he could do. But as long as he was just another black man, we don't want to offer you shit. We're going to just keep on, like you all know, you done worked a job where you're superior than your manager or the CEO. You know more than them. They just happen to, know somebody. Daddy passed the business down to them. And you looking at these dumb people, looking at them, I know more than them, looking at their old entitled white ass. They knew who he was. Why didn't they scoop him up all the way back then? Because it wasn't about uplifting him. But when you started becoming a threat, imagine what these HBCUs could have been if he stayed and maybe not even stayed at that school, but went to another one. And people are like, well, he gave them the game, and, he did teach other coaches. And now people get to step into the position of being the head coach. And, he left a legacy. So, okay. So at the end of the day, the question is, do you realize, and I put this up as a post on my social media platform months ago. I said, when black people join white establishments, it's usually because they want to belong. When white people join our establishments, it's usually because they want to infiltrate. And so when I think about how that was a strategy of the white man, we always want to befriend them. Oh, and let me segue real quick so I can come back to this shit. For my Christians, you all love that Bible. Do you want to know the common theme about the Israelites? They were always told not to intermingle with the foreigners. Y'all remember after all of this stuff, and when they got through and they finally made it to the promised land, you guys remember the instruction of them not to connect with their surrounding people, and how they dressed up and pretended like they were foreign from, foreign lands, and they actually went into covenant with these people. Every time the Israelites went into covenant and created agreements with these heinous ass folks, they destroyed their relationship with God. Now you let that shit set in. Like, are black people, are we cursed, or do we just continuously want to keep intermingling with white people? Now, I understand people are going to say there's only one race, it's the human race. Yeah, but in the human race, there are sects of mindsets. I said sects. There are sects of mindsets, okay? And at the end of the day, the level of depravity that is in the white man, it just ain't in the black man. And even though things are getting kind of crazy, and sometimes white people are committing crimes that we used to say that only a white person would do, overall, I do truly understand at this season in my life why slavery was able to get to the point that it did, because there was just a level of, oh my God, horrid behavior that white people were able to exhibit that the souls of our people could not. Did we war? Yes. Did we fight? Yes. But we aren't the kind of people who would cut the baby out of a woman's belly while she's hanging upside down on a tree and stomp the shit out of her child's head and watch them both die simultaneously. There was honor and even in how we killed. Avatar. Yeah, that's what they doing. Anywho. And so intermingling. So going back to what I was basically saying, like at what point do we stop allowing them to infiltrate? So now whatever he passed on to the HBCUs, now because if he's all about winning, he's a businessman. He knows exactly what he taught those HBCUs, and he's going to make sure that those white people dominate and keep those little black schools down. That's just the way that I see that shit. So, I know you guys have extraordinary gifts, and some of you, you act as if the only way you're going to truly be able to be successful and make the kind of money that you desire to make is based on whether or not you collecting dollars from any and everybody. I only want to work with people because I know the mantle and what I do as a business coach. Those of you that have been around me, you already know. Yes, I teach strategy. But more importantly, I uplift and I empower women to remove the shackles of self-doubt and whatever permeates due to abuse, abandonment, rejection. I help queens stand up in their power and authority and be comfortable being their damn selves. I help them live and walk in their personal truths and stop compromising because they are afraid of what they will lose, and they become more excited about what they have to gain. And many of you, your gifts, yes, I understand. Sometimes you do got to put a certain price point on there because just because you have a gift and you're obligated to the community doesn't mean that everybody in the community desires to receive that gift, and people will milk you dry. And that's why we do things like not even always necessarily in price, but even in execution. What do you have to do to qualify to even cross the threshold to work with me? That's why we do things like that. So that we can set a standard and not deal with rogue people who may just be trying to take advantage of us. But most of us, we have gifts, and those gifts specifically need to be in our community so that what we have is not perverted and taken advantage of, just so that, these other people can go and grow. So I don't know how you're feeling right now. I don't know what you're thinking. But I know that I am created free to be who I'm designed to be. And I made a pact with the divine to send me to earth, to let me walk this walk yet again, for me to finish my assignment. And my assignment means that I've had some pains that I've had to deal with, some rejection I've had to overcome. And because of the way that I've been able to spiritually embody the soul of the phoenix for real, and to operate from a relentless space, then it's no good just for me to have that gift to myself. I won't feel free if I'm not serving. I will feel a sense of loss. I will begin to grieve not living if I don't operate in my fullest capacity. And so no, that last sentence said one does not jump enthusiastically into being big. Status can swallow every bit of your energy. There's another one that said he would have to change the entire pattern of his life. For those of you all that know me, you know the tears that I've cried, the fear that I've held in my spirit, in my mind. And every once in a while, there are still reservations that try to pop up. And I have to obliterate them and remember why I'm here every day. I owe my community. Are you truly operating in a capacity that says you owe your community? Or are you just trying to get rich off of the backs of people and then putting it in under the guise of the American dream? And then justifying it because you're creating an inheritance for your children's children. Have you perverted or polluted your destiny with money? Or is your destiny pure and money is a byproduct of how you're showing up? Inquiring minds want to know. All right, well, I love y'all. That's your food for thought for this week. Until the next episode, deuces. Yes, thank you for tuning in to the Created Free podcast. But it ain't over yet, baby. Don't forget to head over to augustcrenshaw.com/gift and get your free case study. I'm hoping that you are realizing more and more how everything is connected, and this is impacting how your marketing muscle looks in your business, especially as it pertains to copy, video, and then also your sales muscle. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Share this episode with someone you know that needs it, and just stay tuned, and we'll be back to discuss another topic next week or whenever the hell I feel like it. All right, you all have a beautiful day. Deuces.